Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be diving into a topic that I think is really relevant to everyone, and that is the impact of attractiveness on our perceptions. You know,
Hmm.
we got a really thought-provoking Reddit post, and
Oh, yeah.
I got to say the comment section was just like a gold mine of different perspectives. So
Awesome.
yeah, so we wanted to kind of unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, and what we're really talking about here is the halo effect.
Okay, the halo effect. So
Yeah.
for those of us who aren't like psychology experts,
Right.
can you break down like what exactly is the halo effect?
Yeah, so the halo effect is this cognitive bias where our first impression of someone, especially like their physical attractiveness,
Uh-huh.
it colors our judgment about their other qualities, like whether they're trustworthy, intelligent, you name it.
So it's like if we find someone attractive, we automatically assume they're also like a good person.
Yeah.
And if they're not so attractive, we might be more suspicious of like their intentions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this Reddit post is like a perfect example of this.
Okay.
Um, the original poster was a straight man, and he was talking about how his reaction to getting like unwanted attention from men differed, like wildly, depending on whether he found the guy attractive or not.
Oh, wow.
So he was talking about how like, when it was an attractive guy, he felt flattered. He even like befriended a couple of them, but when it was someone he considered unattractive, he described feeling like weird and gross.
Oh, that's so interesting and like a bit disheartening, to be honest. It really
Yeah.
highlights how much emphasis we place on looks, even subconsciously.
Yeah. And the comment section really blew up with people kind of chiming in with their own experiences. Some
Hmm.
folks were, they were really adamant that personality is everything
Right.
and we shouldn't judge someone based on their appearance.
Yeah.
Other people were pointing out the safety aspect, especially for women, where rejecting unwanted advances can be scary
Right.
and looks, but that definitely factor into that fear.
Yeah. There was one comment thread that really stuck with me, and
Oh, yeah.
someone was talking about how looks can be a gatekeeper,
Mm-hmm.
especially in dating.
Yeah.
Like, you might be the most amazing person on the inside, but if someone isn't physically attracted to you,
Right.
they might not even give you a chance to show your personality.
Yeah, you don't get past like the first
Yeah,
hurdle.
exactly. And that brings up this whole
Yeah.
concept of pretty privilege,
Yes.
which was a hot topic in the comments.
Definitely.
Some people were arguing that attractive people just get like unfair advantages in life,
Totally.
from better job opportunities to more lenient treatment from authorities.
It's a thing.
So it's like this weird dichotomy where
Yeah.
on one hand, we have this ideal of like judging people solely on their character.
Right.
But then on the other hand, there's this undeniable reality that like looks do matter
Mm-hmm.
and they can impact our lives in very real ways.
Yeah, it's this weird push and pull, and this is where the halo effect gets even more complex.
Right.
Because it's not just about our initial, like, knee-jerk reactions to people. It can actually create a self-perpetuating cycle.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. Attractive people are often given more opportunities. They're treated more favorably, judged more leniently, and this in turn can, like, reinforce those perceived positive qualities, whether they're actually present or not.
Wow.
So being attractive can actually lead to becoming more confident, more successful, more socially adept, simply because the world treats you that way.
Whoa, that's like a mind-blowing concept.
Yeah.
So it's not just about our initial snap judgments.
Right.
The halo effect can actually shape someone's life trajectory
Absolutely.
and opportunities in a very real way.
For sure. And what's fascinating is that this halo effect doesn't just apply to attractiveness. It can extend to other areas too, like how we perceive people based on their clothing, their accent, even their name.
Okay, so now I'm really curious. How does this halo effect like play out in everyday life?
Yeah.
Can you give us some concrete examples?
Absolutely. Let's take the workplace, for example. Studies have shown that attractive people are more likely to be hired, promoted, and even paid higher salaries, even when their qualifications are identical to their less attractive counterparts.
Oh, wow. So even in like professional settings where in theory it should be about your skills and experience,
Yeah,
the halo effect can still kind of sneak in
totally.
and influence decisions.
It's everywhere. Think about legal proceedings. Research suggests that juries are more likely to be lenient on attractive defendants, even finding them less guilty.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
So just because someone is good looking, they might be judged less harshly for a crime?
Unfortunately, yeah.
That's kind of messed up.
It is, and it goes even deeper. There's this fascinating study where researchers, they presented participants with photos of children and asked them to rate their intelligence and academic potential. Guess what?
I'm going to guess the more attractive kids were rated as smarter.
You got it. The more attractive children were consistently rated as smarter and more likely to succeed, even though there was no actual correlation between looks and intellect.
That's wild. So from job interviews to courtrooms to even like our perceptions of children,
It's pervasive.
this halo effect is like subtly shaping our judgments
Mm-hmm.
and influencing outcomes. It's kind of scary to think about, honestly.
It is, and that's why awareness is so crucial. The first step to combating any bias is recognizing that it exists.
Okay, so where do we go from here, knowing that we're all susceptible to this halo effect?
Right.
Is it even possible to like overcome it?
I wouldn't say overcome is the right word. It's more about becoming aware of those automatic judgments and consciously choosing to look beyond the surface.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do we actually do that? Are there any like concrete steps we can take to like mitigate the influence of the halo effect in our own lives?
There are a few things we can try. First, pay attention to your own reactions when you meet someone new. What's the first thing you notice? What judgments, if any, are you making based on their appearance?
So step one is basically like catching ourselves in the act.
Yes.
Becoming aware of those like automatic thoughts and assumptions that pop up in our heads.
Exactly. And once you're aware of them, you can start to question them. Is this judgment based on fact, or is it being influenced by the halo effect?
Oh, that's a tough one. Feels like sometimes those biases are so deeply ingrained it's hard to even recognize them, let alone challenge them.
It takes practice for sure, but the more you do it, the better you'll become at identifying those patterns of thought.
All right, so awareness and questioning are key. What else can we do to combat this halo effect?
Focus on getting to know people beyond their looks. Actively seek out information about their personality, their values, their experiences. Ask open-ended questions. Listen attentively to their answers.
Yeah, that makes sense. You give people a chance to like show who they are beyond that initial visual impression.
Right, and remember, everyone has something unique and valuable to offer by looking beyond the surface. We open ourselves up to a world of richness and complexity that we might otherwise miss.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. It's definitely made me more aware of my own biases and how they might be influencing my perceptions.
That's great to hear.
So for our listeners out there who are now like deep in thought about this halo effect and its impact on their own lives, where can they go to learn more about this topic?
Well, there are tons of great resources out there. Like a simple search online for halo effect or pretty privilege will lead you down like a rabbit hole of articles and books and podcasts.
Yeah.
You name it. You can even find research papers by psychologists who have dedicated their careers to studying these cognitive biases.
Ooh, research papers. Those are my favorite. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, for those of us who maybe aren't quite ready to like dive into academia,
Sure.
are there any like real world tips you can give us?
Yeah.
Like how can we actually apply this knowledge in our daily lives?
One of the most practical things you can do is practice perspective taking. Try to see things from the other person's point of view.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say you're at a networking event and you meet someone who isn't conventionally attractive. You might not feel that initial spark of interest,
Yeah.
but instead of writing them off, try to imagine what their life experiences might be like. What challenges might they have faced because of societal beauty standards? What unique strengths and perspectives might they bring to the table?
That's a really powerful exercise. It kind of forces you to confront your own biases and look beyond those superficial first impressions.
Exactly. And remember, we're all susceptible to the halo effect. It's not about beating ourselves up for having those initial gut reactions,
Right.
but rather about becoming aware of them and choosing to act differently.
So the next time I catch myself like making a snap judgment based on someone's looks,
Yeah.
I should take a step back and ask myself, am I letting the halo effect cloud my judgment?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to challenge your own assumptions. The more you practice this, the better you'll become at recognizing those biases and consciously choosing to see people for who they truly are.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about myself and how my perceptions are shaped by factors I wasn't even aware of.
That's fantastic.
So to wrap things up, what's like the one key takeaway you hope our listeners will remember from this conversation?
I'd say it's this beauty is subjective, and first impressions can be deceiving. By recognizing the power of the halo effect, we can work to overcome those biases and create a more equitable and compassionate world where everyone has the opportunity to shine regardless of their appearance.
Beautifully said. And on that note, a huge thank you to our expert for sharing their expertise and insights with us today, and to all of you listening.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of psychology and human perception. Remember, awareness is the first step towards positive change. Keep those minds curious and those hearts open. Until next time.